you don't like me. Say you can't love how I feel. How many of you are sitting just me? And we walk the streets of Bakersfield. From that man, looked in my old house, don't want folks thinking that I'm still. Then I thanked him and to leave her, and I headed out for Bakersfield. You don't know that it's gonna like me. Say you can't love how I feel. How many of you are sitting good with me? Gotta walk the street to Bakersfield. You don't know that you don't like me. So you can't how I feel. How many of you are sitting good with me? Gotta walk the street to Bakersfield. How many of you are sitting good? Here to Asheville and play for you. And of course that last song Buck brought me years ago. And that song and the chip on its shoulder of that song kind of embodies all the dispossessed that's gone on through the dispossessed folks that have migrated from one place to another in the United States over the years. All of us that came out of the mountains up this way, and I was born just a jump and a holler on up the road into Clark County, Kentucky. That road 23 comes all the way down through here. Oh, Route 23 carried a lot of people up and down to a lot of different places and a lot of other lives. And there's a radio channel I've got out in California on Sirius XM all over the country, but it's about all that stuff that I collided with when I got out there with Buck, the Bakersfield influence that drew me to the West Coast. And it goes from the Dust Bowl to the Hollywood Bowl, that radio channel, the Bakersfield Beat. If you ever get a chance to listen to it. And it's got stuff from back in the 30s on up through the 40s, but especially when we get to Buck and Merle. And then onward into the next generation, people like Chris Hillman and the Birds. And what they did after they broke up, forming the Flying Burrito Brothers, and Buffalo Springfield breaking up, becoming a band called Coco, and another band called Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. There was a band called Stone Pony that had a female singer named Linda Ronstadt that started making her own records in the early 70s with a couple of guys named Don and Glenn in her band, and they left and started a band called the Eagles. So all of that led me to write this song on my last album, this most recent album. And I'm gonna bring it from coast to coast tonight, back up to California. A little bit of California country rock down here in the mountains of western North Carolina tonight. Steve, show them how we played out there in California. my love. Well, one more time for old truck stop. She One that came out with the very first album, actually when it was still just a 6-song independent LP. This was on there before I ever got a chance to make records for a major label. I put out that independent LP, and it got picked up and played on college radio stations around the country. I believe they played it up there in Boone, just north of here, over at Appalachian State. I think they played it in Western Carolina too, so thanks to them all these years later for playing my record. Because he got Warner Brothers in Nashville's attention, and the West Coast Warner Brothers got wind of it. And, I was working out in LA at that point, and the Warner Nashville people came out of Texas and saw us play the Blasters, and called up my manager and said, you know, I think that kid wants a record deal. I said, well, if the terms are right, I'll take it. And they agreed to allow us to re-release the album as it was, and add 4 new songs to it. But this was on both versions of it. Oh, how it used to be, till she finally gone. Then how it swings me, your little blood. Anything that you want, it only took today. Everything you claiming is wrong. Thank you. This song will be one now that goes back before all of it. Before I even had a hint of a record deal, I was sitting at a pizza joint at the sad end of Hollywood Boulevard one night. There's a real glamorous end of Hollywood Boulevard. Down where they had the Academy Awards and they shoot some TV shows and stuff like that in Hollywood Boulevard. But about a mile and a half further east is what I call the sad end of Hollywood Boulevard. And I was sitting there one night with my brother. I was driving air freight to try to make a living, scratching out a little bit of a living. In the daytime, I was playing clubs at night. And my brother came out to visit for a couple of weeks. We were just a couple blocks up Vine Street from Hollywood Boulevard, actually, this little pizza joint. It was a storefront, kind of had this big front window, you know, and we were sitting at a table there, just kind of watching the world go past. Cars drive by. I saw a couple of young guys a couple of guys actually, one was old, one was young, that was having a tough time making it through life, coming down the street there. They got about halfway across that window that we were sitting there, and the older fellow caught his foot on the pavement, tripped, fell face first down, hit his head, cut himself open pretty badly. The young guy helped him get back up, and they started to walk on. 3 or 4 more steps, he caught his foot again on the pavement. Took another fall. And the young guy trying to help him started to get him back up again. He was bleeding pretty confusely. So I jumped up and walked out. I said, man, you know, maybe just let him be there for a minute, because it doesn't look to be in good shape. The owner of the pizza place came up behind me and said, yeah, I'll get the ambulance, they're on their way. The EMTs will be here in a minute. So I watched him sit there, you know, the older guy was kind of coming in and out of being conscious and hit his head really bad. And the young guy was talking to him and asked, I don't even know if they really knew each other that well. But what I noticed was they both had very distinct southern drawls in their speech. I don't know where they were from, they didn't know anything about them. They could have been from Texas, they could have been from Oklahoma, Arkansas, all the way over here to North Carolina, as far as I don't know where they were from. They were from the South someplace, just from the way they spoke. EMTs pulled up. They kind of triaged the fellow there for a minute or two. They decided, as he kept lapsing in and out of being conscious, they decided they would take him to the hospital. And so they loaded him on the gurney and put him up in the back of the ambulance. And the young guy that had been with him, he jumped back up on the back of the ambulance and started to step inside. And the paramedic said, no, unless you're family, immediate family, you can't ride with us in here. So he got off and stood there in the street, watched them close the doors on him. We watched the ambulance drive off into the night, and I watched him just stand there and stare at the back of the ambulance, and he just walked off into the dark. When I got home later, I wrote this. I sang Dixie as we died. People just walked on by as I cried. The bottle had rushed of all his rebel pride. So I sang Dixie as he died. Said away down the avenue in the Bangkok, all time thing is written as God on the damn old street. Then he drew a dying breath and laid his head against my chest, please Lord, take his soul back home to Dixie. I sang Dixie as he died. People just walked on by as I cried. The bottle had rushed in all his rebel pride. So I sang Dixie as he died. Son, while you still can, run back home to that southern land. Don't you see what life here has done to me? They close those old gray eyes, fell against my side, no more pain. I say, back home to Dixie, I sang Dixie as he died. People just walked on by as I cried. The bottle had rushed in all his rebel pride. This next one is one that Lefty Frizzell, great singer, songwriter, and country music, wrote 3 decades or so before I ever had a record deal. And after I got that record deal, a couple years later, I decided I wanted to try my hand at it. He had a big hit with it when he wrote it 33 or so years before I ever tried cutting it. But it was such a great song, and it did all right for me. Oh, yeah, the lady will give me this. Won't you come to my arms, sweet darling, yeah, I'll wait where you say, why hold up to you, want to lead the way, how you think I can wait, when you know it all. Always late when you say, why hold up to you, want to lead the way, About this time or so, I could do a little waltz. is my love. Turn it up, turn it up, turn it up. Run again, replace your eyes, leave it lonely. I believe he's in Paris, France. I said, well, heard that. I said, that's a good place to write a wiggling song in the bathtub. Paris, France. It just suited this song right here. Live that love I do. I can't handle it. I'd like to do another new song for you. I know. I used to go to shows I hated when people said, we're gonna do something new. I'd go to someone's concert, theater, or in a club. They'd be going, I want to do something new for you. Now I'd be in the back going, no, anything new, N-E-W. I don't want to hear K-N-E-W. Some already knew, that new. Anyway, they'd go, we're gonna do something new. I'd be in the back, I'd holler out, Freebird! Just to screw with them, I'd be there in the back calling, Freebird! Yeah. And so I was going to school in the college, and Steely Dan came through playing the first big concert tour. That's how long ago I was going to college. And anyway, they came through, and I scraped enough nickels and dimes together to get a seat like the fourth deck with the arena way the hell up. And I was up there, it was great. The concert was great because they were doing most of the stuff off their first couple of albums. Reeling the years, all of the hits in there at that point. And I don't think at that point got where he came up to the mic and said, we're gonna do something new for you now. I was like, I just instinctively jumped up and hollered, no, Freebird! Yeah. But where we were, nobody could hear, but about 20 people around me started yelling with me, Freebird! We're all stomping. We didn't disturb Steely Dan, it was so far away, but we upset the people in the other two sections near us. They started playing this new song. It's called Ricky Don't Lose That Number. About a verse into it, I shut up with the Free. I didn't even like Freebird that much. It was just, I love. Now, give me 3 steps. That's a great one. It's Skinner song, right? Give me 3 steps. Oh yeah. Little girl, what's your name? Little girl, what's your name? They call me the Breeze, another great one. I love Little Skinner. But anyway, but nobody should play Freebird except Little Skinner. So I went there hollering out, but they started playing this song about a verse in, and I shut up with the Freebird and listened to a great new song called Ricky Don't Lose That Number. So you never know, it was a lesson for me. And I started making my own records, and I had to do new songs sometimes, so thank you for indulging me in this. I'll tell you, this one came about in an odd way though, because I was finished with my album, and I was scheduled to play the Stagecoach Festival out in California. This was a year ago, this past spring. And I got a call, because Post Malone is a friend of mine, because he's a good guy, and he loves country music actually. He grew up down in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, grew up listening to country music and playing country music. At times he came on my radio show like 5 or 6 years ago, 6 years ago, so before he ever did the country album. Got out. Now anyway, I got word from him that he called and wanted to know if I was sticking around, if I was still going to be at home in town the next night, because he was playing Stagecoach and wanted to invite me to come out and sit in with him, and he wanted to do one of my songs. So I was very flattered he did. So we figured out what we were going to do. We decided on my song Little Wave. And, said, okay, see you there. About a week after that, my manager called and said, I heard you guys figured out the song. I said, yeah. He said, well, Post was wondering, and I didn't, of course, didn't ask him on the phone or anything. He said, he was wondering, did you want him to sing on your record? I said, I would have loved it, but I finished the record now. I mixed it. About 3 weeks earlier, I mixed it. And I said, it's about to be mastered. He said, well, maybe just, managers, they just said, well, maybe just open one up. You could do one of them. I said, I'm not going to just stick him on a song. It's kind of insulting just to stick him on a song. I'm going to duct tape him to the record. So anyway, I got off the phone, I hung up, and I was driving when that call came in. My wife, Emily, and I, and our little boy, Dalton, in the back seat. We were driving to the store, and I was telling her what Paul was about. I said, man, I wish I'd have known, 3 weeks ago or whatever, I would have written something, could have cut it. And so between that stoplight and the next stoplight, I started thinking about it, and I sang something to myself. About 2 more stoplights, I had another verse idea. I started singing that. And then I got to about the 4th or 5th stoplight, and I said, yeah, I've got a song. I said, I'm going to call him and have him come and cut this with me. I'll just hold up the album, finish. She said, what? What song are you talking about? I said, the one I just wrote in the last 4 my little boy heard me. He said, that's a good song, Denny. So that sold it. I called Post up, and he was gracious enough to come out. Within about 2 weeks, we cut this together. And I'm going to sing my part and Post's part in his absence tonight. And Jonathan, if I can't cover both parts, you sing Post's part when it comes up. And hopefully you, indulging me, will find something maybe you like in a new song here. Kick it over on that bass. I don't know how to say goodbye. But don't know where I was down to even try. I never learned and tell you why. Just don't know how to say goodbye. I don't know how we lost our way. But don't know these 2 hearts go astray. I'd have to lie if prayer to stay. We lost our way. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Nothing left here now but sadness. Bang, bang, boom, boom. Everything else all gone. Bang, bang, boom, boom. No sound to look at. Sorrow madness. Bang, bang, boom, boom. A broken heart beats on. And let's say, come on. Something new. If you've had the album this year, you might have heard that off of it, but thank you very much. And I promise I'm not going to play anything else new the rest of the show, man. I just think, hopefully only do things you already know. I think you might know this. Well, my honky-tonk mind, there can't seem to love to get a girl away. Let me get a girl. honky-tonk man. And it can't seem to stop. Love to get the girls with the music of love you spot. When the money's all gone, hey, mama, can you daddy come home? Well, now, pretty little girl, let's go. That's what it takes to make a honky-tonk. Box phone, tone, sound. And we need to live a modern down. Cause I'm a honky-tonk man. Man, can't seem to stop. Love to get the girl away. The music of love you spot. With my money's all gone, hey, mama, can you daddy come home? Well, I'm a honky-tonk man, and can't seem to stop. Love to get the girls away, the music of love you spot. With my money's all gone, you didn't know that. I was talking to my buddy Bill Bob Thornton last weekend on the phone. Sharon stories. He just finished shooting the second season of his show Landman down in Texas. Yeah, it's about to come out, I think tomorrow. Premieres or something. Anyway, we were talking about a song we wrote together that's on the soundtrack for that. And he was out with the Boxmasters in August, September, I guess, or October, playing the show all over the country, and he was asking me where I was at this weekend. I told him, I said, well, we're going down to Georgia, playing a couple nights in Georgia, and we're going to go over and play in Asheville, North Carolina. And he said, all right. And he said, you going to Asheville? I said, yep. Going up there to play Harrahs Center Asheville. Be careful. I said, what are you talking about, man? I said, I've been going down there my whole career. They're great audiences, they're great music fans down there. I said, there. He said, no, that's not what I meant. He said, we love it, playing down there in North Carolina. He and the Boxmasters come through. He said, but we just had something happen on our tour that was a little weird. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you know, we played over in Raleigh, and we come up missing time. I said, what? He said, yeah, we got over there around Asheville. We come up missing. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, you know, whatever that deal is where you come to or wake up like 6 or 7 or 8 hours later than where you were. I said, I don't understand. He said, well, the band and I had finished playing the show in Raleigh, where we're headed across there to go back over and play a show in Knoxville next night. He said, well, just up there to Asheville, just got through the other side of it up there. And the band and the crew had all eaten dinner. He said, they got up and went to bed. They were all in the bunks. So I was the only one left up. He said, so I went up, sat across from the driver in the jump seat, just watching old I-40 go by. So looking at the mountains as they were coming up, and climbed up through there, just looking at the sky at night, looking at the lights of Asheville when we came into it and drove out. He said, just outside of it, sitting up there in the front. He said, there come these two big flashes of bright white light in the windshield. And then we come up missing time. I said, what are you talking about? said, well, you know, it was there on I-40, just west of Asheville. He said, about 7 hours, 8 hours later, we come to or woke up, whatever it is they call it. He said, we were down in Fort Bragg. I said, you were down in Fort Bragg, the Army, the post down there? He said, yeah, the Army base. He said, we were surrounded by MPs. He said, there was this young lieutenant staring at me, and he was mad. He said, what do you think you're doing on this base, and how did you get here? Billy Bob said, I don't know. He said, that pissed him off. He said, he turned and looked at the band and crew and yelled, turn around and get your hands up on that bus. I looked over at the crew and them, and they said, we're all wearing each other's clothes. He said, I looked down at my jeans. He said, I had a pair of jeans on that was 4 sizes too big for me. He said, that lieutenant looked at me and said, you too, turn around and get your hands on that bus. He said, but about that time, an old first sergeant rolled up in an SUV. He was an MD also. He said, he jumped out, kind of grinning, walked over toward me, said, hey, don't you like French fried potatoes? Billy Bob said, normally if I'm out in public and somebody says that to me, I just kind of nod, wank, you know. He said, that sergeant said that, I went, He said, the sergeant chuckled. Said, I mean with mustard on them? Billy Bob said, I went, Sergeant kind of laughed at him. He said, turned to the lieutenant. He said, Lieutenant, he said, sir, I got this. It's okay, I'll take care of it. So he said, he got real stern with the band and crew. He said, hey, turn around and get up on that bus right now. He looked at Billy Bob. He said, he was all stern with me. He said, you, get over and get in that SUV of mine. He said, so I walked over there. He said, I figured he was going to lock us up. But he climbed in, dropped his demeanor, and he's kind of like, he said, that lieutenant, he says, real young, he's just been here a short time. He said, I've been here a long time, so I've seen this happen several times. He said, you don't know how you got here, do you? Billy Bob said, no. He said, all right. He said, I'm going to drive you and the bus can follow me and get off base. He said, but you got to promise me. He said, when he drove us out there and put us up, he said, don't come back. Billy Bob said, we won't. He said, but you know, the weird thing was, we had to go I-40 back that way a couple more times on the tour. He said, and it happened again. I said, well, maybe you could have gone a different route, and then you have to go out there every time that way, and where it happens to you. Like he said, well, it just seemed like we had to go that way. He said, you're starting to sound like that hunter and that bear in the woods. Well, the third time the bear tapped him on the shoulder and the hunter turned around, the bear said, I think you're coming out here for more than just a hunt, aren't you? I'm going to tell you the front part of that joke because it's filthy. But anyway, I said, Billy, let me ask you something. I said, were you drinking or anything? He said, no. So the man had just eaten dinner and gone to bed. I said, do you think you might have been abducted? He got real quiet. He said, yeah, I think we were. He said, but don't tell anybody, all right? And I said, okay, I won't. So let's just keep it between you and me, all right? Because he seemed embarrassed about it once he started telling me. I didn't have the heart to ask if he felt like he'd been probed. I want to say, did you walk funny the next day? Kind of have an itchy step or anything? Anyway, I said, well, man, if you're down there around Asheville or anywhere else on I-40, all the way out through the desert or any place else, Billy, you ever up in front of that bus and those flashes of bright white light come through that windshield, I said, just look up in the sky and say, hey, Mr. Spaceman. 1,000 miles nowhere, time don't matter to me. 1,000 miles nowhere, getting to the place I wanna be. are the cruel things you said. 1,000 miles nowhere, ain't no melody. You're 1,000 miles nowhere, there's the way I wanna be. Got 10 days on my head. There's a vision of what you made, man. I'm 1,000 miles nowhere, ain't no melody. I'm 1,000 miles nowhere, and the way I wanna be. I'm 1,000 miles nowhere, ain't no melody. I'm 1,000 miles nowhere, and the way I wanna be. You got yours a little way to hurt me, and I'm good. I tell you, living in foundation on the ground. You got yours a little way to hurt me, and I'm too bad. There is a time, one cold look from you. I've been just have to tell you, believe me, it's my business. Alright. You got your way. And that's the part where you get abducted. Your way, nothing to the ground. Hey! You taught me how to hurt real fast. I'm so sweet. Down, get it. There's a lesson that I know. Ain't bad enough. And there's a paddle face of way. Put it, guitars, never lights. Real girl, it is good. Don't know the street, I know. Guitars, never lights. Real girl, it is good. The whole place keeps me hanging on. Guitar going. In the middle, Mr. Stephen Peavy doing all. Back here behind me, swinging them sticks from over in Hickory, North Carolina. Oh, okay, I'm lying. I can't do that. He told me to tell you that's where he's from, so you can cheer like it. Wherever they raise fires, over in Illinois someplace, that's where he is. And back here on the drums is Mr. Mitch Marine. Over here on the bass guitar, singing the whole set with me. Singing on a ton of my records over the years. Mr. Jonathan Clark. I don't have to tell you who y'all are, because that's what I always used to say. It takes people like you to make people like me. So thank you very much for being those folks tonight. The Junior Grandma, his man. goes out.